Guten Tag, Hey everybody, this is Space Marine Steve from Play on Tabletop, and welcome into the studio today, and I welcome Nick.
Yeah, hey, thanks.
Nick.
Really happy to be here.
Yeah, I am very excited to have you and all these Space Marines. I love Space Marines.
Space Wolves, but okay, I'll accept it.
Oh, it's the same book now, Nick.
Yeah, I know.
So what has pulled you into Space Wolves?
Yeah, so like I started playing somewhere in 7th. It was probably like 8 years ago or something like that. I think those numbers line up, but basically I wanted to start 40K. A buddy of mine, Andrew, he was into this ever since he was a young kid, and he kept trying to get me to play this game. And so when I asked him what army should I start with, he's like, well, Space Marines have the most options for their models. A lot of people play them. So I said, okay, and I kind of looked through the different types of Space Marines. And I really settled on Space Wolves, and I think there were a couple things. Basically, they all look awesome, right?
Yeah.
They've got fur, and they've got hair, and they've got beards, and it's like, there's lots of stuff that you can kind of paint that's extra on top of that armor. But another big thing is that I love dreadnoughts. I love the dreadnoughts, and Space Wolves have dreadnoughts just galore.
For days.
So I mean, a couple of those things, and just, I don't know, I like the army, I like how it plays, and that's basically why I picked it.
Yeah. Those are all absolutely fantastic reasons. The dreadnoughts in particular, and we've had you on our channel before, and you played a Chaos Army that was heavily converted.
Yeah.
And so I would almost say that your signature style of hobby is to heavily convert things and to change things up. And you've got a few of those in your army today. As someone who I don't do a lot of converting.
Right.
Don't do a lot of it at all. I open up whatever it is, I look at Games Workshop's things, I glue them together, throw them on a base, and I am done. The most I'll ever do is a head swap, and even then, I'm worried. Mm-hmm. So where do you get your inspiration from? Talk to me a little bit about how this one in particular is fantastic. I love it. Where did you get your inspiration for making big changes like this? Yeah,
so most of this is my first time here, right? So when I first started making my Grey Hunter models, or the Crusader, the Land Raider Crusader, a lot of my Terminators, right? They weren't converted. They were just the normal models painted up. I did my best with them, and I think they look cool. But then I started with one of my Wolf Lords up there with a sniper rifle.
Yeah.
I looked online and I found this really, really cool conversion that someone else did, and they had a Marine that was kneeling down, and they had this really cool cloak kind of over the top of their shoulders and just kind of resting on the ground. And I said, wait, hold on, you can do other things to your army? You can add other stuff to it. So I took a piece of paper towel, and I took some glue and some water, just some white glue, and I made this cloak, and the light bulb in my head went off that, oh, you can actually do a whole bunch more to make these things unique.
Yeah.
So basically after that model, I started going into the Thunderwolves and the Wolfen and some of the dreadnoughts. So this dreadnought itself, it's actually just the Betrayal at Calth kind of plastic contemptor.
Okay.
And I built it as it originally was, right, with the arm and the
gun
and the Carry's autocannon. And afterwards, I was like, wait, I want to do something cool with this. So I ordered some different arms, a couple from Forge World, and just again had some bits that I found online, and was able to kind of, I don't know, just do something a little bit different. I wanted this big shield because I don't really like the Space Wolf Venerable Dreadnought shield, the circular buckler. I mean, it's cool, but I wanted a big shield that kind of represented the invulnerable save that a Dreadnought would need if they're here,
this
right?
Bad boy right here.
Yeah. So I tried a couple things. I luckily magnetized a bunch of these, so this is all magnetized.
Oh, it all comes off. Look at that.
So it's nice in that way that I could just kind of switch a couple things out, and then I had a neat conversion.
And you built a lot of this stuff from scratch. So this axe here, that's not in any Games Workshop.
No, so it's the Venerable Space Wolf Venerable Dreadnought axe, and then I just cut it, and I took a chopstick, and I basically pinned the two things together, painted it so it kind of looks like wood, and then added, I think it's jewelry chain or something. I got it from Green Stuff World, and basically just added it on to give it a bit of bulk, and
chopstick.
Chopstick.
So you ordered sushi one day.
Yeah.
And you were like, you know what I can use this for after?
You just get all of those extra chopsticks lying around, and you just, I don't know, I was using them for like, I don't know, paint stirring or something, and I chopped it up and made it into an axe.
I like that.
Yeah.
Something that inspires me to do is to look with a very discerning eye at the objects that are just around my house all the time.
Oh, totally.
Right? Like I imagine that you probably find lots of inspiration of things to use just from tools you have laying around the house. So you do a lot of converting. What would you say is like the most unique thing you've ever used in a conversion?
That's a good, I mean, the chopsticks I've used a bunch. I use a lot of different wires. So with pinning or different, now that I green stuff a bit more, I'm by no means an expert at green stuffing, but I like to have different poses. Even that Wolf Lord with the sniper rifle, its arm is slightly down.
Yeah.
And so I had to kind of like wire that and then green stuff it in. And so I just save all the wire, like paper clips and like, anything that I have, I'll just keep the wire around just to use it for other stuff. Lots of cork, obviously, basing, it's great. I had tile grout, which I find really, really good for creating bases, nice hard bases, but with like a particulate that's like a little bit finer than sand, and it kind of looks a bit more scale appropriate.
Interesting. See, there's a hobby hack for you right there.
Tile grout, great stuff.
Tile grout, interesting. See, I know I've heard something similar with like baking soda.
Yes, baking soda's good.
Because it's so fine, right? That's interesting.
I just find whatever, and I honestly though, with this army and some of the other armies, it's really about like, I like to scour bits sites at times and find unique bits that may not be Space Wolves kind of specific, right? Like the Crusader has a bunch of AOS or fantasy bits on it, right?
Yeah, like I see the little barrels.
Yeah, and just finding things and being like, all right, let's try this. See if we can add that in somewhere.
So this is obviously a labor of love, right? And you've been working on this. This is your first army. Like for the people sitting at home, about how much time would you say is locked up into this project here?
I have no idea. Hours. Like I finished this in 2019, so it probably took me, what is that? 4 or 5 years probably to kind of get it to the state where it is right now. And then I moved on to my Chaos Force.
Is this done?
It's done for now. So as you'll notice, there are no Primaris units in this, right? This was done just at the time that the Primaris stuff was coming out. So I mean, my Wolf Lord, Engir Kraken Doom, who has the jump pack down there, he's wearing Gravis armor, but I mean, just because I wanted some bulk, right? I like the size, I like the scale of that, but everything else isn't Primaris. So when you say, is it done? I think there's going to be a Primaris phase of this at some point.
What are you working on right now?
I'm working on some Tau right now, so I'm about halfway done a Tau army.
So what's the theme with Tau?
So with Tau, it's more of a display army, and it's a Tau force that has been kind of like almost fully defeated in battle, and they are retreating to regroup and kind of re-armor, repair, and they're basically in that lull of, after you've just gotten the snot kicked out of you, and they are basically trying to lick their wounds and hide away.
An interesting phrase you use there. This is going to be a display army. Tell me what that means.
Yeah, display army is one that is kind of built more so for sitting on a shelf, because Tau is best on the shelf.
Tau is best on the shelf.
So you haven't seen this yet, right?
Which?
The
No, I haven't seen anything of it.
Okay, so I want your reaction.
An interesting phrase you use there. This is going to be a display army. Tell me what that means.
Yeah, display army is one
talk about his Tau
is
army.
kind of built more so for sitting on a shelf, because Tau is best on the shelf.
Tau is best on the shelf. Okay.
That's sad. But it's true.
These units are built so that they look like they're fighting in battle, right?
Yeah.
So when you put them down against something, and someone takes a picture of the battle, which everyone loves to do that, it looks like they're a part of the battle.
Yeah.
The Tau army looks like they're repairing. They look like they're not in battle. So and they're honestly a little bit more finicky. They have a little bit more, So I want to kind of keep them as something that sits outside on a shelf.
Those are great kind of entries, whether it is something that you hobby for yourself and it stays at home on a shelf, or it goes into like a painting competition one day, or into just like showcases. Like those kind of things are very, very cool to see. Like hopefully we get to do one of these for that one day, and that would be absolutely fantastic. We are here right now in this kind of underwater arena for a reason. And that's because there is a 40K in 40 minutes where you play Tau Nick.
Yeah.
And that game is underwater. So can you explain to me, like, what is this?
That's a Leviathan. So basically, it's a big sea monster that swims around, and we had rules for it in the game, which were really cool. Basically, if it swam over something, it did mortal wounds. If it ended up right beside somebody, it did mortal wounds. We used some scatter dice, which are a relic of the past, but that helped us direct randomly where this thing went. And it was great because. So these are the sea wolves. These are Angir Kraken Doom's sea wolves, which are one of the great companies of the space wolves. And they're basically, out there fighting large monsters and beasts, and they're really great at boarding parties and they're ship-to-ship combat. So they're kind of like, I don't know, space pirates, if I want to take that away from the Drukhari, but
yeah, you could totally take it away from them. Yeah,
so there we go. But yeah, so I mean, they're going to go after a big Leviathan and fight that. So it was a pretty cool addition to the game.
I'm getting a very kind of like Moby Dick feel, right? Where it's very this is the giant, and then too, you go and you hunt Tau, the biggest fish, biggest fish in the sea. Also fish. It all works out.
It all works out.
It all works out. And we're actually you're adding this thing to your collection.
I am. Yeah, that's awesome.
And yeah, what are you gonna do with this?
I don't know. Tau Nick said that I should put a Space Wolf on it, like a Thunderwolf Cavalry, and I think I might. That would be pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, that would be very cool.
Or I will actually do something where it's. I might just keep it as is, or I'll add a Space Wolf trying to kill it or something.
Oh yeah, like with a harpoon or something like that. It feels like something you'd kill it with a harpoon.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, so let's leave the hobby for a second and let's talk about the game.
Sure.
So this was your very first army.
Yeah.
What did you start with?
Yeah, so I started with, I think I had a Grey Hunter pack or two, which are basically your tactical Marines. They're your troops on the ground. But I immediately got some Terminators after that because I love Terminators. Terminators are so cool, and especially Wolfguard Terminators. You can add all sorts of different weapons to them. They're super versatile. So those came next, as well as probably the Crusader. And then after that, I started building up, getting some of the more Space Wolfy units, right? The Thunderwolf Cavalry, the Wolfen, then building up along those dreads.
What would you say is your favorite unit to play and why?
If I was to say favorite unit to play, most recently it's probably been the Wolf Lord, Angir Kraken Doom, because I'll either play him on a Thunderwolf, right? He's magnetized, so I'll play him on a Thunderwolf, or I'll put him in a jump pack. But you can soup them up, and again, Space Wolves are about having really cool characters. They have tons of awesome characters. So give them a bunch of cool relics, give them a couple Warlord traits, make them a really awesome beat stick, and then just send them after somebody. I think that's the most fun, right? And also, Space Wolves are also about the saga, and they're about the deeds. And so if you're a character of renown, if you're a Wolf Lord of legend, you have a long list of deeds and sagas. You should always be adding to that. So yeah, definitely Angir Kraken Doom is probably my favorite, yeah.
This starts to get very Hero Hammer-esque,
Totally,
right?
yeah.
Space Wolves lean into that.
Yes, definitely.
To go off that a little bit. So when you're painting a unit, building a unit, playing a unit, versus building a character, painting a character, converting a character, how much more work goes into creating a character than a regular unit of guys? Is there any more work?
Yeah, for sure, right? A way that I've done this, that I think I read this somewhere, someone gave me this advice in the past, where they're work on multiple projects at once. I think Vince Venturella said that, right? It gives you a couple different things to work on, right? So not only are you working on a couple different projects at once, work on troops and then have a character unit kind of waiting there, either that you can also work on, or that you can batch paint the troops, batch paint the other thing, and then really go in when you want and focus on that small detail. Because I do spend more time on the characters. It's more fun. You want to give them a little bit more time, but you still have to put in all that effort to paint your troops, right? If you want a lot of troops, you have to go through the shading and the highlighting and all of the little details. So that's something that I like. And I did paint Angir last because I wanted all of the knowledge of the rest of this to kind of go in when I did paint it.
You wanted it to influence Like the journey of what you've done, you wanted to influence the cherry on the sundae.
Totally, exactly. And but I mean, also, I painted all of these Seawolves emblems on their shoulders. They're not transfers, and so those are really hard to paint. I'm an okay painter, but like those are still really hard to paint. And I wanted the last one to have the most reps.
Yeah.
So
that's very commendable. Yeah. I dare not freehand.
it's hard. It's fun, but yeah, it's just part of the process.
It's a journey, right? Like when we look at this is your first army, and it won't be your last army. There's going to be phases coming, like a Primaris phase. It's going to grow, and this is one of the things that I personally love about Warhammer is there's always a starting point, and there isn't really 100% an end point.
No, I mean, it's great. Games Workshop has done a really good job at making it, enticing to always get more models.
Talking about hobby time and putting all of this together, you actually have had some pretty big changes in your life recently, like 9 months recently.
Yeah.
So what's gone down there, and how has it influenced your hobby time?
So recently had a kid. She's awesome. Except that I don't have a lot of hobby time now. I feel like this is, takes a little backseat to some of that. It's tough, especially right afterwards, right? You're focusing on other things, focusing on your family, focusing on your kids. But I think that there's a certain point where you do start to have that rhythm and routine, and you just have to prioritize it and put that in. So I do see it now that I could start putting some more time together for it, which is nice. But I don't know. For those who don't have families or kids, or maybe the things that require more of your time, embrace it, paint lots of models. And for those that do, I wish you the best in finding that time. Make time for it.
What would be a suggestion you have to help somebody who is struggling with time make sure they get like paint on their models?
I think you just have to do it every day. You have to put in the time every day, because if you wait, right, even if it's just half an hour, even if it's just 15 minutes, make it easy for yourself to put that paint on the model, make it easy for yourself to do it, then it becomes a ritual. At least you're gonna do it every night. Whether it's half an hour, it doesn't matter, just do it. The little things kind of chip away at the progress of your army, and you'll still get it done. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just make sure you have a little bit of time, but keep it consistent.
That is good. Good advice. Consistency is key. Well, I must say, thank you for the advice. Thank you for bringing these here. These are absolutely fantastic. And thank you for playing in the game.
Yeah, it was awesome. I'm so happy to be invited to this. I love playing with y'all. I love playing Tau Nick. And,
Hey, you've done it twice now.
I know.
Are you going to play anybody else?
No, just Tau Nick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's hurtful. Anyways, so from all of us here at Play on the Table, do you want to do the exit with me? Yeah, so I'll say until we see you again, and then I'll pause for a sec, and then both of us will say, play on.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. So I guess that wraps up this next installment of the Army Showcase series. Nick, thank you so much.
Thank you for having
being
me
here.
Yeah.
And from all of us here at Play on Tabletop, until we see you again, play on. Smooth.
Nice.
That was good.
Yeah.